Okay, to wrap things up, I thought it'd be fun to talk about some of our favorites. So we'll start off with a softball here. Who are some of your favorite characters? And I feel like this is going to be great because, like we were talking about, this world is so rich and lush that it's hard to talk about everything in the short amount of time we have on each episode here. So maybe this will allow us some time to talk about some people we haven't really focused on too much.
I don't think we mentioned her name yet, Lane.
Yes,
I love Lane.
I love Lane.
I really thought that Lane and Rory had a good friendship, that Lane was a good friend to Rory, and I really loved seeing her growth and kind of her coming into her own as a person and fighting with her mother. So
yeah. Talk about a mother-daughter dynamic. That was completely different.
Oh my gosh.
It's like a bonus mother-daughter
Mrs.
dynamic
Kim.
on top of it.
Yeah.
But and totally toxic, but at the same time I also love Mrs. Kim.
Yeah.
Me too. You know, something that I say all the time, it's like one of those, every once in a while people on TikTok will be like, what's an obscure pop culture reference you make all the time? My brother and I always say, we appreciate your business.
She says that every time.
Yeah.
She really does. Oh man, and that store of hers is like a labyrinth. I feel like every time they're shooting a scene in there, it's a different room. I'm like, how many rooms does this woman have in her house for antique furniture?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, but it's like, imagine then growing up in that house. Like, it would quickly wear on you, I think. You know, if parts of your home that you live in are an open store for public, it's like, what's private? So
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
And I think that's something Lane struggles with, right? Is like having privacy to be able to be a pretty normal American teenage girl. And she lives in a pretty repressed household with a mother who's not super open to a lot of the things that Lane is interested in. But I think at the end of the day, we do see Mrs. Kim cares for Lane in her own way. And a lot of the toxicity really does stem from overprotectiveness, which doesn't justify it at all. But I think Gilmore Girls does a good job of exploring multiple mother-daughter dynamics, not just Lorelai and Rory, which is really nice. And it's nice that they cross cultural divides to do that as well. So it's not just like white mothers and white daughters, you know?
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, obviously they're all exaggerated versions of real world dynamics, but I think that that's such an immigrant daughter, immigrant mother dynamic is to be super overprotective and almost smothering in a way. But then you're right, Laura, but we see a shift start to happen by the time that Lane marries Zach. She goes to her mom and she's really upset about the band being done, and Mrs. Kim is like, no, that's not happening. She goes and organizes the whole tour for them. And granted, are all the tour stops in church basements up and down the East Coast? Yes. But the point is that she was very supportive.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So.
Yeah. No, it was, and I think they played a couple of bar mitzvahs as well.
Mm-hmm.
And it was just really funny seeing them have to sing basically kids bop versions of popular songs at the time. And what about the guy in their band with the hair? What was that guy's name?
Oh, his name is,
I love
is it
him.
Gil?
Gil, I think that is.
Is it?
I love his character. He's just so funny to me and so wholesome. I'm like, how are you a real person? But of course, he's in Stars Hollow and everyone's weird in Stars Hollow.
So true.
We haven't yet mentioned Michelle.
So good.
I love Michelle. Honestly, Emily and Michelle are two of my favorites because I love a sassy bitch. And both of them are in their own ways.
I think
it's so delightful.
I'm on the Gilmore wiki, and the quote for Michelle is, "People are particularly stupid today. I cannot talk to any more of them." And it's like, who hasn't felt that within the last week? You know,
right. Right.
Oh, no, I think I can see Michelle being only like aging more with fire the more you watch like that show.
Oh yeah. Oh, and again, like another character that's great in A Year in the Life. Like he, you know, he's
Oh,
only there for a bit,
fantastic.
but yeah,
Okay.
yeah, he's great. I always think about that one episode too, where he has the two dogs, Pow Pow and Chin Chin, and one of them dies. And they he makes Suki and Lorelai host an entire funeral for the dog.
Yeah.
Oh, it's so good.
Yeah. It's funny because it's not the first time something like that has happened. Like, I think it's in the first couple episodes of season 1.
Cinnamon's Wake.
Yeah, they're having a
Yeah.
wake for the neighbor's cat.
Yeah.
It's just a thing that you do for your
Yeah.
neighbors. You know, you show up and
Yeah.
treat
Yeah,
it
it's a
right.
tight-knit community where everybody has each other's back.
Mm-hmm.
Right? It kind of speaks to that, like, apple pie, vanilla ice cream, American dream that you were talking about there, Eric. If only
Yeah.
all small towns were like that.
Yeah.
A lot of
It's
them
been-
are, but, you know,
Yeah.
could
That's
use more.
true. We talked a little bit about Paris, but I think that like Paris is just the way that she plays off of Rory. Like that dynamic is so good. And is she like
Yeah.
super intense? Yes, but she's just some of the most incredible scenes and are just include her, and she's just great.
Yeah, I agree. Did you know that I guess the actor who plays Paris, is it Liza Wheel?
Mm.
I think she had originally auditioned for the part of Rory,
Oh, that's crazy.
and they liked her so much that they were like,
Yeah.
not for Rory, but you can do this. And
I like that a lot.
I'm
having
so
a-
glad they did because she's perfect.
She's great, and even just the different personality types, like watching like a control freak fail to be control, like to get control that she wants, like, which is how she is in the very earlier seasons. Like she mellows a lot or grows, but just being presented with the different character types for Rory's friends and closest is like, oh, this is really interesting. Like this is, it's fun to watch this character even if you aren't at all like them.
Yeah. And then two other ones for me that I feel like they always come as a duo is Miss Patty and Babette, which is like to your point about Cinnamon's Wake.
Miss Patty
They're so good. It's just like also like the actress who plays Babette, her voice is like so distinct, and I just like love anytime she has to like explain something about the town like that's gossipy, because it's just her voice adds so much to it, and yeah, it's so great.
I'm getting tingles thinking of the nostalgic
Yeah.
tingles. I watched the show again.
What about Taylor?
Oh
Everyone's
my gosh.
favorite
Love
grocer.
Taylor. You love to hate him. He's
Yeah.
a piece of, you know, he's a curmudgeon. He's a you know, it's funny how he and Luke don't get along for the longest time because, you know, they have some elements there where it's like, well,
Yeah.
they have
He's like
a
the one
harder...
conservative in the town.
Yeah, and he's there are moments where he's like really insufferable, and yet at the same time, I would eat at his ice cream shop. Like that's kind of really neat that what he has and his business is like, I know he's proud of it and all that hoity toity, but like I would actually want to eat there and go there.
Yeah.
Sure.
Well, to that point, you know, like there's that one story arc. I think it happens across a few episodes where Jackson decides to run for town selectman, and they realize that he's gonna win. And Lorelai feels so bad because she's like, yeah, like Taylor sucks, but he's our sucky town selectman, and so she's out there trying to like get people to vote. So it's not just Taylor that voted for Taylor because she sees him so sad in his little ice cream shop. So yeah, everybody has a part to play in the town, and I you know, it's kind of nice that like even though he is like the town busybody and the guy that's always kind of like stirring things up, he still has like a place there, and the town would not be what it is without him.
Right.
That's for sure.
Totally. He's very eccentric, but also a control freak. And so he wants other people to match his energy. And it's like, no, man, like you do you, but you can't expect other people to be you, you know?
Right. Any other favorites before we move on here in terms of characters anybody wants to bring up?
Trying to think and make sure I haven't missed anyone.
I know
Because
someone wrote down Suki here, which we haven't talked too much about Suki, but she's
yeah.
lovely.
Yeah, I mean, Suki's like a warm hug, honestly. And it's so funny seeing a lot of the work that Melissa McCarthy has gone on to do because Suki is like
different.
so motherly and warm and inviting. And then, she goes and does stuff like Bridesmaids, where she's, literally shitting her pants in a bridal
Yeah.
But yeah, I mean, what's not to love? Honestly, there are so many just like very, very colorful characters. Most of the really interesting ones come from Stars Hollow. But I will say, always got a special place in my heart for Richard as well.
Yeah.
So grandfatherly. I think the thing with like Richard and Emily, I think they made better grandparents than parents.
I was just going to say that because I know you and I have personally talked about that, like outside of podcasting, because we have grandparents that were definitely 100%. Better grandparents than parents. So, yeah. It's just like a different dynamic. Feeling. Yeah. And I think that's why it's easy for us to understand why it's frustrating for Lorelai, because she sees her parents and how they've relaxed so much with Rory. And they're just like so... they're so quick to show affection, to show love, and sometimes you have to remember that when it comes to your own crazy family dynamics. So, all right, let's settle this once and for all. I want to know if you guys are Team Dean, Team Jess, or Team Logan. This is obviously the most important part of the show.
Yeah, I mean, I feel like they're all bad. Like Rory has bad taste in men, just like Lorelai does, but if I had to pick of the three of them, I would say I'm Team Jess. I think that he is the most in touch with Rory as a whole person, at least at the points in time that like he's close to her in the show. And I feel like he tries to encourage her to explore those parts of herself and not get like boxed into the rich kid life. So I think that he's just someone who's like more intellectually stimulating for a character like Rory. Even though he's not a good influence, he's really not.
He pushes Rory. He pushes Rory. I almost said Lorelai, which of course would be accurate, but still, he pushes Rory. He is like kind of the bad boy. There's that element there. He's kind of maybe a little averse to authority, a little attitude problem at times, but he's also like deeply well read, and there's a lot to like in Jess, personally. But you know, it's imperfect.
100%.
I think he gets better.
Yeah,
I would say really quick, because I'm also Team Jess, so we can get the Team
Yay!
Jess stuff out of the way. I think that I agree with what you just said. I think for me, it's that he pushes her more and on the things that matter, at least in my opinion, than any of the others. And I think that she needs that. I think she needs sometimes somebody to really give her a good shove in the right direction. And also, I think that even though he struggles a lot, I think where he ends up as a person, you can tell he's put in the work too, and that goes a long way as well, even despite like the flaws that he exhibited early on in their relationship. So
yeah, good for him. I am still sort of in the honeymoon phase of Logan. Now, I have not seen A Year in Life. I don't know what that whole married but still with Rory kind of thing is going on. But I remember, was it season 5, when Rory's at Yale and like meets Logan for the first time, and they have that like secret society, and there's that event to go together. Like, I remember feeling like Logan was a breath of fresh air, both for the show, for Rory. I also thought that it was cool that he like, obviously he matches her privilege, which is pretty hard to do. But so he knows a side of her that not a lot of people actually understand. And yeah, it means you're rich beyond your wildest dreams, but like at the same time, I felt that meant that they were more equals, or more even footing than the others. I think in an interesting way. I think that to the points of the show that I watched, Logan really did care about Rory and treat her as good as he could. So I again, maybe barring whatever may happen with those two, I remember I always liked Jess. I always thought Dean was maybe, either too nice or just not a connection, not the right fit for Rory. But I think where I last left off, I remember having very strong opinions that Logan was the one for Rory. So I'm going to say I'm Team Logan.
And to be honest with you, I feel like if I had to like stack rank them, Logan would be in the number 2 spot for me. Just because Dean, no, that's a whole thing. But I agree with you that I think Logan is a good connection for her in this like wealthy world that she's in and trying to navigate, because he speaks the language and he can help her navigate it, but he also doesn't take it all that seriously, and it's very clear that he thinks it's stupid a lot of the time. So it is nice to see a representation of someone in that world who isn't like so up their own asshole about it. Obviously he is to an extent. We see he has his moments where he's really, really entitled too, but I think he's just a little bit more in touch with reality than the rest of his family, just judging off what those interactions look like. So yeah, in the absence of a Jess, I would think Logan would be a good match for Rory, but I also don't, I feel like the two of them make some pretty toxic choices together. So that's something to take into account too.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think that he enables her in a different way. And I think that it is, I mean, it's good in a way. He doesn't coddle her, he doesn't baby her. Even there's one point where they get into this big fight and he's basically like, I didn't tell you to do that, you did that on your own. Which I think sometimes she does have to take more responsibility than she does. But I also feel like, I mean, part of Logan also enables her bad decision making. So it's like, at the end of the day, they're all flawed, some more than others. At least we can agree that we're never Team Dean.
He seems like a nice guy. Oh shit, there must be something I missed or forget.
Well, remember Dean got married and then he cheated on his wife with Rory.
Yeah, what are we talking about here? Is that a bad thing?
Well,
I'm messing with you.
I was going to say, you
sorry.
know what? It's all a matter of perspective.
I do remember that, and I remember thinking, oh, it's a shame that like just these people are like unhappy, and they like he's listening to what he thinks he should do, or like society, and so like I was mostly familiar with Dean through the lens of here's how we can absolutely mess up real people's lives around us in our wake. Based on, in fact, I think Dean's thing was like a cautionary tale.
Well, yeah. And they're also bad for each other too, in that sense, like that Rory's not without fault there because she knew what the situation was. But yeah, it is just like a matter of the fact that they just like, they don't work well together, clearly. For a number of reasons. So, but I do think that like, I think overall, if you just think about like how each of Rory's boyfriends are at the start, I think that they do a really good job of introducing love interests that like her character needs at the time. Because when she first starts dating Dean, that's her first real boyfriend. I think she does need somebody that is kind of like this knight in shining armor that's going to protect her. And, he starts off as a good guy until he's not really. And, just being a little bit more rebellious, I think she probably like needed that too. She needed something that was like a little bit more dangerous and edgy and somebody that was matching her intellect more than Dean was. on the precipice of, going off to college and stuff, which is interesting because like both Dean and Jess know they're not college material for different reasons, but Jess never holds her back the way Dean does. Like Jess is very well aware that she's destined for higher education, and he's totally fine with that.
That's important.
And encouraging of it too. Whereas Dean, and I mean, granted, when we first meet Dean, I mean, he's young. These are high school kids, right?
Right, exactly.
But he's very like into the idea of trying to push Rory towards more of a like trad wife aesthetic, because he's
right.
like, well, my mom does it all, and like she still has dinner on the table at a certain time. And I mean, that should have been the first sign, like knowing what you know about Rory's character up until that point, very early in the series. That was probably a red flag that one wasn't going to go very well.
Yeah. So is your team, would you say that's reflective of who you think the best Gilmore Girl boyfriend is? Or
Yeah.
does that answer differ?
For Rory, are we going to talk about Lorelai's boyfriends at all?
Oh.
Here's
no, I
the
mean,
thing.
I think Jess, like for Rory, yes, I would be Team Jess.
Yeah, Logan, still.
Okay. Cool. Okay, and then just to fully wrap up our discussion here, I think we've done a really nice job of balancing out our praise with our criticism, which is important because we criticize because we care. But do you both think that Gilmore Girls is still a show that's worth watching for somebody who's maybe never binged it before, despite its flaws? Yeah, I think
definitely.
So too.
I think that it represents some really like important things as a time capsule. And it's like, here's the thing, like I don't want anybody to be watching a show they don't like or doesn't resonate with them, but put on a few episodes and honestly there is a lot to like about it.
Yeah.
Like see if you're not hooked.
Yeah.
And there's
I
so
like
many
what you-
best of lists too. Like
True.
you don't really have to, I mean, like you could start from the beginning, but you could also probably start somewhere else and,
Hop around.
kind of catch on to what the vibe is.
Yeah, I would say there are overarching themes throughout seasons and between seasons, but I would say a lot of episodes are also pretty self-contained. So I think you can enjoy it kind of like as an a la carte offering if you don't feel like committing to a full binge. And if you want like the full context of like what's going on in the episodes between what you're watching, like YouTube recaps are your best friend, honestly.
Yeah.
But yeah, I definitely think it's something that most people could get something from. And Eric, I like what you said about it being a time capsule because, oh my God, it really is. Like watching that show gives me flashbacks to like Cosmo Girl magazine and like bead bracelets and like jelly everything, because everything was like had like a jelly like cover on it that had like the chromatic colored goo inside of it.
Yeah.
It's
Pencil
very much
cases
giving
and
like thinking about like the corduroy jackets, like those were so big at that point, and Rory wears
Stars
one
Hollow
all
has
the time.
payphones.
Yep.
Those looking at those was just like what? Yeah. So there's a lot of nostalgia, but not all nostalgia is unfounded. I think there's a lot to love.
Agreed.
Well, that does it for our Gilmore Girls 25th anniversary special. We hope that you all enjoyed taking a little trip down memory lane with all of us here. Before we let you go, we do want to remind you about where you can find us online. You can follow us on social media. We're on TikTok, YouTube, Twitch, and Instagram as What the Hype Podcast. Our website is whatthehypepodcast.com. On X, we are What the Hype Show. And if you want to email us about anything, you can do that at whatthehypepodcast@gmail.com. And please do send in your emails. We will be doing a feedback episodes soon, and we'd love to hear your thoughts on any of the episodes that you've enjoyed so far, especially if you feel like we've missed certain things. I think all of us will be on for that, so there will be somebody to react or answer your question about any of the fandoms that we've covered so far. And once again, you can find all of the contact information for how to do that over on our website. So
awesome. Thanks so much for this, y'all. It was so fun to go back to Stars Hollow today.
I know.
I haven't gotten to talk about Gilmore Girls in forever, so this was a nice treat for a Monday.
Mm-hmm.
And music from tonight's Gilmore Girls is available via CD at these links. Yeah.
It's going to be a CD full of the La La Las.
Yeah, basically.
La 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 la.
Yes.
That's basically the entire show.
Part of its charm.
Yeah.
All right, we'll see you all next week for another episode. Bye.